I'd like to call the regular meeting of the San Dimas City Council to order. Ask you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we'd like to welcome you all to Blaine's last council meeting as the city manager of San Dimas. I'm not starting to wear my black armband yet, but it'll be soon. But we do have some people, I understand, who would like to make comments regarding Blaine and their experience with him and so the microphone is open. Anybody who would like to make a presentation to him, to just make comments about anything you like about Blaine, the opportunity is yours. So please come forward. I know there were some people who told me they wanted to do this, so.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Councilman. My name is Chuck Coyne. I'm a member of the Bonita Unified School District Board of Governors, and first, some good news. Our district office remodeling is finished. We've started moving people in today, and the move-in will be completed on Friday, and you'll all be invited to an open house. But to speak about Blaine, one of the most important things that a district can have in order to be successful is the support of a city and a community. And Blaine, more times than I know of over the years, has always been there to step up and have the city help the district in any number of ways. I can mention three, was softball fields over at Gladstone School, and fencing and backstops. He also was pivotal in making I don't know what you call it, the little safety bridge along the road leading from downtown San Dimas to Shull School so that the kids would have a safe way to walk there. There was another one that I mentioned earlier, and it skips my mind right now, but there's so many ways. Oh, it was parking at the parking lot at the San Dimas High School. So those are three things that I know of that I just happen to be involved in, and I know there are many, many more. As a district, I'm a member of the board. I'm proud to represent my portion of the city. We all represent the same constituencies, and so it really is imperative for us to work together. And I just want to thank Blaine for working so well with the district in so many ways over the years. We have a little certificate somewhere. It seems to have disappeared, but I'm sure it'll make its way to you. So it's just our way of saying thank you, Blaine, for all your assistance and support over the years in so many ways. So
thank you, Joe.
Good luck and safe travels in your future.
Thank you.
Enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make any comments regarding Blaine?
Thank you, Mayor and council members. My name is Bob Pence. I'm with the Office of Congresswoman Grace Napolitano, and I'm here tonight just to show our appreciation for Blaine and his 4 decades of service, public service excellence. Blaine, I think, our district's a large district, and we have many city managers, that we deal with, and without a doubt, you are a symbol of just steady leadership, and then also, I think, you're just an empathetic person. You're a person who just has a good heart, and you're always easy to deal with. On behalf of the Congresswoman, we just want to thank you for your service, and you will be missed. And I won't make any jokes about what a tall order you're leaving here for, Ken, or what big shoes to fill. But someone who's been with a city as long as you have definitely leaves an impression, not only on the structure and the governance, but also on the people around him. And I think without a doubt that's true of you. So thank you so much for your 40 years of public service.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make any comments regarding Blaine? Okay, we will now move on to oral communications. This is the opportunity for members of the audience to address the City Council. on items that are not on our agenda. Under the provisions of the Brown Act, the City Council is prohibited from taking or engaging in discussion on any item not appearing on a posted agenda. But we will note your concerns or questions and try to deal with them in an appropriate way. So if anybody would like to address the City Council this evening, now is an opportunity.
Hello there. If you read anything in any reports, they say one of the most important things for a city is to be involved in cultural arts. This city really is. This week, last week, during the city, I mean, it's just amazing what happened. May I ask if the people in the council and up there, if you like gorillas, would you raise your hand? Oh, thank you. Gorillas, yes. So there's two that like gorillas. Do you know what you missed? If you had gone to San Dimas High School last weekend to see a production of Tarzan. Arthur. No. What?
So wasn't it Tarzan?
It was Tarzan. Yes, you should have raised your hand. Anyway, Tarzan, if you didn't go, I know a lot of you go to every football game, but you really missed an adventure if you did not go see Tarzan. You could have had gorillas walking around right in front of you. But what is interesting about it is the beautiful facility that we have in San Dimas. You don't need to go down to Los Angeles to watch productions. You can go there and see them. So the next production, really do go and see. And the technology that the kids showed, this is where they're going in the future. They're going to be working in some of these. Another adventure in culture this weekend at Holy Name of Mary. They're going to have 3 days of bands. The music is very evident and a cultural happening. The one I'm really interested in is going to be for year 43, the longest running art show, among the longest running art shows in the country, and it's going to be free. You can come Saturday and Sunday, or you can come to dinner on Friday night and Saturday night, but you have to have reservations for that. But it's going to be amazing. Friday, if you're walking around town, you can see all of the people that are walking around painting. And then you can come on Saturday and watch during the day. Some of the paintings will be sold. If you're so inclined, since most of you don't like gorillas, maybe you want to play with clay. So there are things happening in San Dimas. This is a cultural city, and you're helping to make it so. Let me try again. Who likes gorillas? Oh, good, we have some converts. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Morris and members of the City Council. My name is Yesenia Arias. I work for the Foothill Gold Line Construction Authority. And today I just wanted to take advantage of this public forum to inform the community and yourself that on April 28th, the Foothill Gold Line Construction Authority is going to be testing the newly installed underground communication system for the freight. The main testing will happen in the city of Glendora, but it will affect some of the crossings in San Dimas. So we've already coordinated with your fire and police, the city. We've done door-to-door hangers today, and I walked today a lot of the businesses in the area. So I just wanted to take advantage of this public forum to let people know, and if they have any questions, to call the Foothill Gold Line Authority. There is only a few employees there. I always pick up the phone. The number is area code 626-305-7012. I will leave some notices by the model that you have on the hallway just in case somebody is interested. And if I may, I do also want to just say a few words about Blaine. I've only been with the project for 2 years, so there was a lot of catching up to do when I first started working for the Foothill Gold Line. but I truly appreciate your patience and your leadership. I have always felt comfortable asking you questions that can be to some people pretty dumb questions or obvious questions, and you've always been very professional, very wonderful or easy to talk to when it comes to some of these engineering and difficult things that I've had to deal with. So I just wanted to take the time and thank you for that. But is there any questions regarding the Foothill Gold Line testing?
Actually, just for the benefit of the public, I spoke with Lisa, I think, at the Earth Day event.
Okay.
The testing, could you describe it a little bit so the community knows what to expect with that?
Sure. What happens is we go from Azusa. The testing area is in the city of Glendora, but we start in the city of Azusa, and the train, we're going to use a Metrolink train because this is a communication for the freight system. They start in Azusa, they start to gain speed. Once they hit the area that needs to be tested, there will be a Metrolink train going 40 miles an hour. When it gets closer to San Dimas, Gladstone area, we're going to start to decelerate the train, and it'll come close to the Monte Vista crossing. So the gates there will be activated. People that are driving by may experience a 3 to 5 minute delay. And then once the train stops there, it will make another run going west. Again, it'll start to gain speed in San Dimas, trying to hit the 40 miles an hour once we get to Glendora, and then use the city of Azusa crossings to slow down the train and then stop. We need to make 6 successful runs in order to stop the testing. So we have blocked out the time from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
So it will not be a runaway train, it is just
It will not be a runaway train. The areas that are going to be tested will have flaggers. Difficult areas like Lone Hill will have flaggers, and we'll also have some help from Glendora PD so that people don't think that it is a runaway train. There is some people there working the area.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else want to address the city council?
Good evening, Mayor Morris, City Council, and congratulations, Blaine, for your retirement. I wish that your new journey will be filled with joy. And with the summer just around the corner, so in preparation for our summer reading program, we are accepting the teen volunteers starting on May 1st. To May 18th. So if you have teenagers, family members, and they would like to volunteer at the library, it's time to come to a library and be familiar with the books and reading and help the kids to get the summer reading. And the library do have a lot of programs for different ages groups. On Saturday, April 27, we do have a puppet festival. Starting from 11, we do have a puppet show. And at 1 o'clock, we do have a Marinate Theater. It's also a different puppet show. And at 3 o'clock, we do have a puppet workshop. So it's an all-day event. So if you do have family member who like the puppet, different puppet, the puppet or a marionette puppet, or want to make a puppet, welcome to come to the library. And for teens, we do have a DJ 101 on Monday, May 6th, 5:30. That we do have a real DJ. Welcome to the library. Show the teens. It's a teen program. Show them how to get familiar with the equipment and discuss with the music and how to get it started. And for adults, we do have the gardening program on May 18th, 3 o'clock. So if you like gardening, it's a good time for you to come to the library. And of course, we do have the our children programs on Fridays. We do have 9:30 and 10:30 the toddler programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the city council?
I I apologize for my tardiness. I missed a little bit of the recognition, but on behalf of Assemblymember Chris Holden, I'd like to congratulate Blaine on his well-earned retirement after 19 years of service to the City of San Dimas. But in addition to providing this framed certificate of recognition from the State Assembly, I wanted to share just a few takeaways that I am able to have from my beneficial experience with Blaine. First and foremost, your calm demeanor is superhuman, and I hope to learn and take away that skill set from you and use it in my daily life. And secondly, over the years, I've had the privilege of staffing the Sheriff Booster Dinner. And among the highlights of that dinner is one, celebrating our great volunteers that support our sheriff station, but hearing your speech on the value of volunteerism and volunteers and how they make organizations and cities as great as the City of San Dimas is. And I've always enjoyed those speeches. And then third, my takeaway is your words of wisdom. And most recently, I'll give you an example, your words of wisdom that you shared at the Students in Government Day. Our future leaders from the San Dimas High School, and you told them, and I'm going to butcher this because you said it far more eloquently, but my takeaway was, please don't be part of the polarization of politics as you go into the world. Be the leader that listens and seeks to understand through inquiry. And that was one of your more recent words of wisdom that I will take with me in my daily efforts to serve in the 41st Assembly District. But again, it is my pleasure to be here. I apologize for missing the recognition before the meeting. I was at the Youth and Family Action Committee meeting over in Laverne. And so the mayor from Laverne, Mayor Kendrick, and Councilmember Robin Carter also send their congratulations to your retirement. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the City Council? Okay, we're going to go on to the rest of our agenda. Oh, excuse me.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, staff. My name is Isabel. I live on 4th Street in San Dimas. You know me from the No Big Hotel effort. I'm actually here today to talk about something a little bit different. I wanted to bring up my concern about the recent gang activity in the neighborhood. I'm not sure if anyone brought that up. I arrived a little bit late. As you know, I think it was 2 Mondays ago, there was a drive-by shooting over at Euclid and 3rd Street, which is just a block away from my home where I live with my husband and our 2 small kids. And there are dozens of families who live in that area, several neighbors that I've talked to, and it is scary, quite frankly, that that's happening in our neighborhood. We moved here, and a lot of people moved here, and I think you all pride yourselves in San Dimas being a safe, family-friendly town, but that was really scary. And I think it was also scary because, you might have known in the weeks prior to that, there was some graffiti, tagging, kind of going back and forth between local gangs, and it seemed to be escalating. Now, I don't know what the city's doing, what the sheriff's doing. I'm sure there are things going on behind the scenes, but as a resident, and I've talked to some of my fellow neighbors, it would be nice to get a report or some sort of transparency from the city, because to us it feels like an urgent issue. It feels like our small, safe neighborhood is, becoming a victim to this escalating violence. And I, for one, would like to hear about or see increased patrols in the area. I don't know if there's a specific gang unit that's at the sheriff's department that's doing work. I know they work to find the tagger, but for me and my young family, and I can, speak to some of the other neighbors I've talked to, it is scary for us, and I hope and I trust that you all take this matter very seriously, the safety of the residents, and it's a public safety issue. I know that it's urgent to you, but it's very urgent to us who live right there within a block of the area. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Yeah, thank you for listening. I don't know if you'll be able to report on that tonight or at an upcoming time, but
I don't know if Captain Berg is prepared to make any comments now, but we'll certainly invite him to. Actually, the Sheriff's Department did a pretty outstanding job on that tagger.
Just a quick update. We're aware of the graffiti and the shooting that happened 2 weeks ago. In that shooting incident, we know that a couple of shots were fired. There was no person or building or car or anything that was hit. We do have some leads that we're following up on, and more than that I can't say right now. In regards to the graffiti, we hope you've seen a significant decrease in the graffiti in the area, because we have made a couple of arrests in regards to graffiti, we definitely do have share your concerns about those incidents of violence and what appears to be an increase in gang activity. And I can tell you that the city is aware of it and concerned with it, and they have provided the additional resources and funding to put some extra cars out there, and we have been doing that. And we will continue to put more cars out until we can really put this to rest. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the City Council? Okay, we're going to move on now to our consent agenda. All the items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted with one motion unless a member of the City Council requests separate discussion.
Move approval.
We have a motion and second to approve the consent calendar and the items thereon. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, that carries by a unanimous vote. And that brings us to the end of the consent calendar and to a public hearing regarding the establishment of a sewer reimbursement district for De Anza Heights Drive. Blaine?
Krishna Patel has a presentation. Krishna.
As a background, City Municipal Code Section 18.12.104 gives a condition that should a public improvement is found to benefit other properties, the developer of the public improvement may seek reimbursement for the portion of the cost of the improvements equal to the difference between the actual cost of the improvements and the amount it would have cost the developer to install such improvements to serve this or his or her property as determined by the city engineer. What we have tonight is a request by a homeowner at 416 De Anza Heights, where we constructed a sewer in conjunction with a recently completed home. The total cost incurred for the sewer improvements was $123,450. The homeowners had approached the city to recoup the funds to install the sewer line, and the sewer line installed was approximately 500 feet of sewer system. This evening, staff is recommending the establishment of the De Anza Heights Sewer Reimbursement District. As a way of background, to occur this, first the city, for the reimbursement to occur, the council must approve the creation of the sewer reimbursement district, as well as approve the attached agreement, which is attached as attachment C in the staff report. Way of background, this is the area in terms of the reimbursement district. This is included in your package as well, as an attachment in the agenda. Due to the irregular shape, this is the sewer line itself being extended in white. These are the shape parcels that are being served, will benefit from the extended sewer line. And then this is the subject, this is the property that installed the sewer line, which is 416. Due to the irregular shape and size of some of the parcels, an equitable connection fee based on acreage has been established rather than the frontage. The property owners in the district identified are not required to pay this reimbursement amount until such time they're ready to connect to a sewer, to a public sewer. due to the existing hillside terrain. The private property owners, as well as existing street grades, there are 2 properties in the proposed district where they'll have to acquire easements through the parcels. This is one parcel here. The green line shows to connect to the sewer, this property will have to acquire an easement through this property's frontage or through the access there. Similarly, either extending the sewer over about 50, 60 feet to the west, this property owner will have to acquire an easement for a sewer connection through this property. As previously mentioned, the sewer construction was financed by the homeowner at 416 De Anza Heights. For these improvements to be fully reimbursed, will require cooperation amongst other property owners within the proposed district to grant private easements across their properties, as shown by, as I said, the green lines. Also be likely that residents will need to extend the 8-inch main again in terms of beyond the property line there. The city code further states that this agreement will be effective for a period of 10 years or until at such time as the developer has been reimbursed for the amount set forth in the agreement, whichever occurs first. In the staff report, this is the area that is broken down in terms of apportionment of cost between the 5 property owners based on the lot frontage. The share of the cost is anywhere from 14% to as high as 26%. As such, the staff recommends that the council consider approving the following. Approve the establishment of the Anza Heights Sewer Improvement District on behalf of the homeowner at 416 Anza Heights to recover the sewer construction cost, as well as approve the attached to the Anza Heights Sewer Agreement. To do that, there'll be council has to have a public hearing for the members of the public. This concludes staff report.
Any questions regarding the staff report?
Yeah. As property owners hook up, is that when they pay
Exactly,
the fee?
yes. Yeah, if you look at this table here, as the property owners hook up that are fronting this sewer along these.
Are they required to hook up?
If and when they need the sewer connection, yes.
Yes. Thank you.
If it's an undeveloped lot,
Correct.
they would be required to hook up if they're within 200 feet of the sewer line, and all of these would. The other circumstance where they would be required to hook up if their existing private sewage disposal systems failed and the sewer line was within 200 feet, then they would not have the option of repairing their private system. They would then also have to hook up to the sewer.
Or if they do an addition to
Or an addition that triggered an increase in the system that required them, for example, if you had a bedroom and your septic tank isn't the correct size, you can't update your septic system. You would then have to connect to the sewer.
So, and there's no expense to the city?
There is no expense to the city.
Thank you.
Let me ask about that no expense to the city. It means that the resident at 416 put up this $123,000 to have this done, and if the other tenants don't want to do it or they delayed their doing it, this guy is out the money for that period of time until someone does it?
Exactly. For 10 years, if nobody hooks up to the sewer system for one reason or another, right, then this person's out of money.
Any other questions of staff before we open the public hearing? Okay, the matter that's now before the City Council requires a public hearing to establish the sewer reimbursement district. The city's involvement in this is actually to facilitate the development of the sewer, not that among the private individuals, and this is a method for each parcel bearing its own expense, but they don't have to bear their expense until they apply to hook up to the sewer. So the question for the public hearing is whether to establish the district or not, or the reimbursement district. So anybody would like to address the city council on that matter? First, those in favor of establishing the district, please feel free to come and tell us what your opinion would be, if there are any. Are there any people in the audience who are opposed to creating the district and would like to comment on the record for that? Or last, anybody have any questions about it and you'd like to know more about what the assessment district is and how it applies? Please feel free to come to the microphone and tell us who you are and what you'd like to know.
Good evening. We are the homeowners that doesn't have the address. My name is Tom Yu. I'm Phoebe Shea's husband. The question I have for the gentleman is the breaking down the percentages. If we build a construction on our property line and no one else is on the hook for the recovery of the cost, are we only paying our pro rata share of the $20,000 something dollars, or is this a group deal, or this, because we are on the hook for as it appears to be $14,990.
Is this your parcel here?
Well, and by the way, I think there is an error in that because the parcel's address or the APN number it should reflect the last three of 019.
Yeah, it is 019. This is 019.
Oh, I see. The correspondence we received, the last three is 046.
Oh.
So
if it's 019 based on the chart here, your share would be this amount.
I see. The correspondence we received was a little bit different, but so I guess it's been was this redesigned prior to the?
It should be the same. I don't know what you've received, but these are the numbers we have.
So $20,566 is what we would owe. I guess my question is, if none of the other homeowners pay that, are we only to pay the $20,566?
Exactly, yes. That's what you have to pay. This is in addition. You'll have also to pay sanitation fees. This is totally different set of fees.
I understand. So this is something we would be responsible solely for our parcel of land,
Exactly.
regardless of what the other homeowners, whether they opt in or opt out.
Yes, that'd be your fair share, yeah.
That's all I have.
That's chart.
Thank you. Did you have, based on that information, do you have any comments one way or the other about the creating the sewer assessment district?
I guess the question I have, Mr. Mayor, is that the homeowner of 416, are they on the hook for the entire $123,450?
Yes.
As of now?
Yes.
And if we, I guess my question is, if we say no to it, how would our sewage be hooked up? If you know that question.
You wouldn't be able to hook up, and you would be required under certain, I'll let Mr. Stevens answer that on
your
what our
property is currently
enforcement matters.
undeveloped?
Correct.
Okay, so if they said no to participating in the reimbursement district, and they came in to develop their property, we would still require them to hook up to the sewer because they're within 200 feet of a sewer, so they could not legally establish a private system. Whether those fees would be different, because there's still some county fees and some other fees. If there were no sewer reimbursement district, they would simply pay the normal connection fees. If there is a reimbursement district, then they would pay the reimbursement amount plus the normal connection fees.
Do you have any idea how much that would be in addition to?
No. Public Works might have an idea on typical sewer hookup costs, because I don't know if you're annexed into the district.
It is, they're annexed in the district.
They are annexed already.
So in other words, they'll have to pay treatment fees.
Yeah. So they're not $120,000. They're probably more in the range of 5 to 10,
5 to 10, yeah.
just for a standard hookup.
Okay. Is this something that each individual homeowners vote on tonight, Mr. Mayor, or is this?
It's the city council votes on it after we hear public input.
Oh, yeah, I don't have an opinion one way or the other at this point, sir.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
That was a mistake.
We're happy to answer questions or hear opinions about the formation of the assessment district. Hearing nobody else or seeing no one else coming forward, we're going to terminate the public hearing part of this, and we'll bring the matter back to the city council for the consideration of, if I can find it here, consideration of an agreement between the City of San Dimas and the mayor and Mona Albus actually, relating to the reimbursement for sanitary sewer main construction on De Anza Heights Drive-In, on De Anza Heights Drive in the City of San Dimas. And this is the attachment that goes to our adoption of the district. And Mr. City Attorney, is there anything else I need to describe what this motion has to be?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There's also a preliminary action that the council needs to take before they approve this agreement, which is to approve the establishment of the reimbursement district. So a motion for staff recommendation would be acceptable. However, during the middle of the item tonight, a discrepancy was found between the chart that is inside of the agreement versus the chart that's attached as attachment B to the staff report. The charts both have the same total dollar amount, $123,450, but the allocations among the properties are different. I just checked with the Public Works Director, and he stated that the chart that is attached to the staff report as attachment B is the correct chart. So motion tonight should include an amendment to the agreement to add in the chart on attachment B rather than the chart that's in the agreement.
Okay, so we would first approve the establishment of the reimbursement district.
Yes.
I would make such a motion.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm a tad confused. The people at 416 now have paid $123,000 to have a sewer pipe put in. You know, if tonight we establish the reimbursement district, okay, or we don't, say we say no, okay? The way I understood it, when the gentleman was up here talking, if we don't establish it and he decides he at some point wants to develop his property, but we would require him to hook up to the sewer, and those fees are $10,000 something, okay? What happens to it's $10,000. Why would he want us to establish a district when he's only gonna have to pay $10,000? If we just develop the district, we're gonna pay $20,000. Okay, let's just explain a little bit more.
Well, the basic purpose of the district is that the person that developed,
Albus.
Yeah, they had to extend the sewer across other properties in order for them to be able to hook up. And they did that to accommodate the development on their site. But there are other future beneficiaries of the sewer extension that they did. And so the concept of the reimbursement district is that the other people who benefited, if they need to hook up to the sewer within 10 years, should pay their fair share of the cost that was fronted by the original sewer extension. And so the district simply creates that opportunity. In some, when we have a developer, they do all the improvements, so we don't get into that type of a discussion. But when we've got existing lots of record and the sewer is needed in order to facilitate development, the cost is fronted by first person in, and then other persons who are not in or have a future need are asked to pay their fair share if and when they need the sewer. So that's the concept behind doing the reimbursement. I don't think we're legally obligated to create the district if we choose not to. And then they would pay, we would still require them to hook up to the sewer, and then they would pay the normal, regular connection fees, and they would not reimburse the front-end provider of the sewer line.
I don't know, if I was a homeowner, I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want us to approve a district when I can sit back and wait, save $10 or $15 or $20,000. We're requiring them to join into this. And I certainly understand, the boozes, wanting to get their property reimbursed, get the service reimbursed. But I'm not sure why we as a city are involved in trying to make this way.
We are simply reviewing a request from the property owner who did the front end, which is a request allowable under our code,
Right.
to ask for reimbursement. You are not obligated to approve the district, but the property owner has
It's requested.
requested that you do that in order that they have some chance of recovering some portion of what they front-ended. Now, the other properties may never need to hook up to the sewer, because the developed ones are all on septic system. And so their only issue is if they expand or if they have a system failure. And if the Boos had not done the extension, then they would have been in the boat of having to extend the sewer if they had a failure or an expansion. And so, because the Boos were first in, it's simply a matter of timing.
Do we know if the Boozes actually met with any of their neighbors and told them, up front what they were planning to do?
I don't know about that, but we did send notice to each homeowner, each of the property owner there in terms of what we're planning to do. And I do believe there is a development in the works as well that will probably need a sewer hookup too, because one of the issues they're having up in the hill there is a percolation test. They have to go through public health and test the soil itself. It may not pass the test in terms of current standards. Because the Boos, when they did the project initially, they had the option of either putting a sewer in or putting a septic tank or running a sewer line. I believe the Boos decided to run a sewer line themselves, which is a better option, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So what they're trying to do is collect their monies. This is not the first time we're doing a district in the city. We've had multiple districts in the past as well where homeowners, single-family homeowners, have actually front the cost and over a period of time recovered the cost. Some have been successful, some have not, and some have lingered and then just simply died in terms of time frame.
Larry or Krishna, who owns it, hypothetically, if the council did not vote to approve this, who owns the sewer?
The sewer is a public sewer.
So it's a public sewer. So it's been installed, they basically fronted money to support that
It's a risk
infrastructure.
they've taken, which they are trying to partially offset by getting reimbursed at some time in the future should the other properties have need to connect to the sewer.
Right.
But it is a public sewer, and anybody else can legally connect to it without paying a reimbursement district fee if you didn't create the district.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree with them, that no pun intended, but it seems like a crappy deal for the people that are looking to get involved in the district or to hook up, if they could hook up at a much reduced rate, for the homeowner.
The one benefit they get, is let's assume that the sewer wasn't extended by Booz, and it was sitting out there, and they wanted to develop their property that was undeveloped, and they couldn't get a way to successfully get a private system on the property. Couldn't get it to perk, they had other issues with it. Then they would have fronted the cost for extending the sewer, and it might have been the same $120,000 before they could do anything on their property. Or if you had a failure on a house that was developed now, and you couldn't successfully come up with a way to offset that failure, then you would have to spend the same $120,000, you know, and then you would be asking for a reimbursement district. So it's really a matter of timing and trying to create equity when someone fronted the cost of a public improvement.
That makes sense.
You know, I absolutely feel like it's fair. You know, it's a fair way to do business, and for this particular thing. What I do have a problem is that that the residents in that area didn't have a chance to pipe in and say, hey, is this costing me this much money, or what we're doing? And I think all we're doing is we're kind of acting like a collection agency.
Can I add something here, Emmett? Actually, the cost that's there, we actually looked at the bills paid, you know, in time. It's just not his number. We actually look at each and every bill, who was paid to, from surveying, from engineering, to inspections, you know. And I think in terms of the numbers, we talk about $5,000, $10,000. This is for having a sewer in front of the property. There's another $5,000, $10,000 that the homeowner has to pay to the sanitation district for the treatment of the waste. That's a separate fee. Everybody has to pay that. See, maybe that's a confusion that you were having there in terms of the cost. But no, this has been verified by staff in terms of the cost, the actual cost of the sewer system. Okay. There are a lot of bills in there that we didn't include at all in terms of other things I've added in there. But no, this is the final cost. We've reviewed and verified it.
I'm confident the staff's looked at it in every direction. I'm just I'm having a problem with where these people consulted, and now they're being forced to pay $20,000 plus another $10,000, $12,000 to connect it up, you know, at some point, right?
Well, but except they would not have been able to ever develop their property. So if they had been first, they would have had to pay the whole 123. The only way you get this done in these kind of situations, this is a fairly common thing, is the people who advance the money for a public property get reimbursed. Because it's unfair for other people to not pay for part of that cost of building that public improvement that has to be built by the property owners.
It was required to be built.
Yes, it's required to be built.
Required, didn't have a choice.
Right.
I don't know that I mean, I'm kind of on Emmett's wavelength. I would almost prefer to table this, allow the outreach to the other parties in here, and then bring it back, and then go through the exercise, understanding with the other parties concerned or listed in here whether or not they feel comfortable with it or not. Because either way, like this gentleman pointed out, if the other people don't buy in, I mean, he's only paying his $20,000, they're still out the difference, right?
Yes.
So I would just be curious if the other parties are interested in participating in this. You know, I think it's just in terms of the percentage breakdown, I mean, I guess is what I'm looking at.
The percentage breakdown is determined by the city based on whatever the parameters are that are.
You either have the option of frontage of a lot or acreage. And if you look at this exhibit here, right, there is no frontage. You know, if you look at this particular, if we had this parcel in particular, right, it'd be more than $20,000 because of the frontage of a lot. So what I decided to do was, looking at this particular lot, it doesn't have any frontage at all, see? This particular lot here has no frontage. So I looked at it based on the size of a lot in terms of acreage to make it fair and equitable. And we've done that in the past in terms of distributing costs based on acreage. And so, to staff, this was the most fairest way of breaking the costs down based on the size of the lots.
Let me ask you.
Okay, if cities are not willing to approve these, then nobody will ever develop the lots.
I just have one question. Would we as a city ever have installed that sewer line?
Probably not.
But if we did, then we would have created an assessment district, more than likely.
A reimbursement.
To be reimbursed for the costs of extending, yeah, and you could do the same thing on a road. You know, if you need to extend a portion of a road, someone fronts it, you do a reimbursement district. The fronter takes the risk of whether they're gonna ever be fully reimbursed.
Have these people been informed about the meeting this evening?
Yes, they
They
have.
sent notices to all
We
the
did.
property
So
owners. in
These are the only folks that showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
In answer to your
they're
question,
well aware
Emmett,
of what's happening.
in answer to your question about the city being fronting, yeah, we do have reimbursement districts. If you remember Oakway, where the rates were kind of high, we'd reduced the rates, Oakway as well as Dale Park, Cataract. We've had about probably 60-70% of people hooked up over a period of 20 years. In other words, what's happening is the system fails, then people have to hook up to the sewer line, and they're paying their fair share of fees to the city with a percentage on it. This has no percentage added to it at all in terms of interest rate. On the Oakway district, I believe it's 3%. When we created the district many years ago, it was 8%, but now it's down to 3%. This particular district has no interest rate and is fixed for 10 years.
Because the other option would have been, at the time that the Boozes wanted to develop, they could have gone and met with all 5 or 6 of the property owners that were going to benefit, and they could have all worked out an agreement for their cost of the $123,000 and paid it up front. Okay, that's one way that this could have been done. The second way to do it is I'll front the cost, and I'll hope that I get reimbursed if people need to do it, because it's less complicated to do it that way versus trying to get 5 or 6 people to agree to pony up, $120,000. And so, it's a choice that they make at the time that they do the development. And again, you have the option of saying, we don't want a district. You have the option of saying, let's have more contact with the property owners before we form the district, or you have the option of just adopting it because it's a fair way to give them some chance to recover some of the money that they fronted.
Yeah, all of the property owners there, the properties are worth more because the sewers there available.
And the ones that have septic tanks, if they fail, they have to hook up.
If they fail, they're all, the plumbing code, if they fail, they would have to hook up to the sewer. That's really their only option under the plumbing code.
I'll second Dennis's motion.
That's a motion to approve the assessment district. Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Is anybody opposed? Hearing no opposition, that carries by a 4-0 unanimous vote. And the next item is to approve the attached De Anza Heights Sewer Reimbursement District Agreement. With the correction noted by the city attorney, which is that the exhibit B, which is in the staff report, contains the correct numbers, and that'll be a part of the, rather than the exhibit to the agreement itself.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, that carries by a unanimous 4-0 vote. And that concludes our public hearings. We now have a report from the Successor Agency, so we will convene a meeting of the Successor Agency. For those of you who are not aware what a Successor Agency is, this is when redevelopment went out of business, redevelopment agencies in cities owned property. And the redevelopment agencies were disbanded, and the property, the title to the property, went to the Successor Agency for the purpose of disposing of the property to pay the tax-paying entities their share. So we are now meeting as the Successor Agency. And the first item is an update on a proposal to retain Cosmo Realty for real estate advisory services for the Successor Agency-owned property at 344 West Bonita Avenue. Blaine?
Here, Ken has a presentation. Ken?
Excuse me. Yes, as the mayor just described, this deals with the property which is 344 West Bonita Avenue, which is the property on the corner of Bonita and Cataract. The city engaged with a development consultant, Cosmo and Associates, a few months ago to, excuse me, let me take a drink of water. Excuse me, to receive their professional advice and expertise for determining the best way to get restaurants and retail uses on the site, to also evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of the site for restaurants and retail, and to actively assess the level of restaurant interest. The city has been pleased with the results of Cosmo's initial engagement and began negotiating with them on a proposal for them to further market the site for restaurants and retail and other developers, including restaurants that may or may not have interest in being a part of the project that may or may not include a hotel. Staff has been working with Cosmo's group on an agreement and had hoped to have an agreement before the council for tonight's meeting, but there are still details that need to be worked out. However, time is of the essence in entering into an agreement to move forward on some of the contacts that Cosmo has already made, and also because the largest national shopping center convention is coming up on May 19th through the 22nd. This convention is a very prime opportunity for Cosmo and the city to market the site. So there is a need for Cosmo to prepare materials to assist marketing the site at that conference. Therefore, the city shouldn't wait until the next regular scheduled city council meeting on May 14th to enter into an agreement. It just so happens that the city had planned on holding a special city council meeting next Tuesday, April 30th, to discuss some budget items. Staff is planning on adding to that agenda approval of the Cosmo agreement. It is anticipated that the agreement will outline the general scope of services that Cosmo will provide, including predisposition property due diligence services, solicitation of interest and proposals for the property, selection of preferred concept disposition strategies, and approaches and provide real estate brokerage services if necessary. The scope of work will have some preferred approaches as described to the City Council, but will not rule out any options, including the existing proposal. It will flesh out all potentially viable options and compare them to one another and provide pros and cons and project feasibilities as described to the Council. If all the details of the full service agreement are not worked out, we may present a phased agreement that allows them to perform work until a final agreement can be concluded. We fully anticipate that the agreement will be ready for council consideration at the April 30th special meeting, and if not, as I mentioned, we may provide you with a partial agreement until we can work out all the details of final agreement. So we just wanted to give the council a verbal update and status report and let the public know that we anticipate bringing an agreement to the council at their special city council meeting on April 30th. This concludes staff's report, unless there are any questions of council.
Any questions? Okay, we will just take no action and you'll put it on the agenda for the meeting on April 30th. Okay, that concludes the business of the successor agency. We'll now go to oral communications again. This is an opportunity for members of the City Council to address, members of the public to address the City Council. There is a 5-minute time limit during this period, and if I can set my machine right, it may be 3 and I'll have to reset, but same rules apply as the other previously. Come forward to the microphone and tell us what's on your mind. Anybody want to address the City Council?
It says 3, Mayor. First, I'd just like to thank Blaine for all his work in the city. I know we've had many talks over the last few years, especially, on a very topic, but Blaine always brings it back to Metrolink, so I thought I'd better come talk about Metrolink tonight. I appreciate your service, Blaine. Happy retirement. Last time I talked and I talked about the Redlands Metrolink extension being shorter, lower, quieter, and it was being built on a single track extension of the current single track. And what I didn't point out, I was thinking about this later, is that the reason it's important that it's a single track, or single tracks are quite a bit, or not quite a bit, they are quieter than double tracks. Double tracks have the ability to have trains going simultaneously on both sides and have a higher noise impact. So the Redlands, besides getting all these extra benefits that we have, that we don't have, they also have just a single track, and we would be having a double track. The other thing I didn't mention at all was the privacy concerns. On a double track, you do have privacy concerns more so than on a single track, because on a single track, trains don't stop. On a double track, they stop and wait for somebody else to clear the single track. So on a single track neighborhood like we currently are, we don't have trains stopping by our units. In the future, if it's a double track, they actually could. They could be stopped there to wait for a train to come back going the other way. especially at the Lone Hill end. Maybe not so where I am at, but I just thought I'd brought that up also. And also, they'd be going slower. If they've come to a stop, they'd be going by our units. They're very high trains. They'd be looking right down into people's backyards. If you're sunbathing or whatever, it's already a privacy concern to some units, but it would be even more so with a slower train after it came from a complete stop. So I thought I'd bring that up. Boy, I got all kinds of notes. I don't have a... If the project is moved forward, we should be treated as a minimum to the Redlands Metrolink safety and quality of life mitigations. It's a small fraction of the total project cost, which currently shows as $157 million for 3.9 miles. And to put that in context, at $157 million, the entire fare recovery for Metrolink in a whole year is $100 million. That's all they receive in fare revenues. So to do a project for 3.9 miles that brings in costs $157 million is really a year and a half total fares for their entire system. And with their annual fare revenues, they actually have an operating loss every year. Currently is $170 million in the red. So they run at a tremendous cost to the public. And hopefully we get some benefit out of them finally. They also just recently did an origination destination study. It has a lot of facts. It's very comprehensive. It's, I don't know, well over 100 pages, as I recall. Metrolink currently shows a substantial increase in the amount of money that people make that ride on Metrolink. It currently now, for the entire system, and there's some are higher, some are lower, but it's $92,800 per year. It's much higher than people that take the bus or take the light rail. It's a rich man's line, basically, even though they are reducing fares. But the people that are riding it keep getting more and more monies. It's predominantly ridden by government workers, finance workers. It's about 40% of the total. There's healthcare workers was another one, and hospitality suites. But the top two were government and finance. And government and finance also have another benefit they get. They're highly reimbursed. People that ride on transportation, people that work in government offices have, I believe it was a little over 50% reimbursement. The finance industry averages about 60% reimbursement. So when they're getting reimbursed, the taxpayers not only operating this system at a big loss, the people that are riding it, that are government workers, are also getting reimbursed on the taxpayer's dime. And it's just floating money around. So I thought I'd bring that up. The predominant destination on Metrolink is Union Station. It's about 82% of the people that are working. Finance, well, let's see. I did ride Metrolink on Earth Day. I'll just make this real quick then. It was a total disaster. For me, it wasn't a disaster, but Metrolink had a huge problem. They had 6 trains that took over an hour behind schedule. They had some that were over 2 hours behind schedule. People were very upset. There was a switch problem with the BNSF. The next day, this morning, they still hadn't fixed their problem. They didn't let anybody know. So people were getting on these trains. They were late getting home last night. They were held up for 2 hours more this morning for the same problem. They weren't notified, and I have never seen more angry people making communications with Metrolink. Plus, they just came out with their Get On Board PSA announcements, and people were just making sarcastic comments about the Get On Board. They can't get off the train. It stops in the middle of nowhere, and they're stuck. They get reimbursement for Lyft or Uber, but if you're stuck on a train and you can't get off, you're stuck there. So the reimbursement is great if you haven't got on yet, or if they're at a station, they let you off. They have an open door policy. But when you're stuck between stations, you cannot get off. And that's what happened to these people. There's also, they didn't run any of the Tier 4s yesterday, the low emission ones, because the board had asked to make sure they only use reliable trains. This morning, they were apparently putting it back in service, and they did have a mechanical one blow up on them, so they had a train that was canceled because of mechanical difficulties. I was going to correct the record too. Last time a couple times ago I was here, I mentioned congestion pricing going in and having 5 people or more in a car. That was just a study. That is what they're proposing. I thought I'd just correct you. You guys probably all knew that already. That hasn't gone into effect, but what their congestion pricing is also, they're going to be forcing more congestion to the city, or to the people driving on the roads. SB 50 was voted, SB 50 on LA City Council was recommended unanimously against, but the reason they went unanimously against it was they thought it didn't go far enough, which is kind of interesting. If you saw that, you probably already did know that. They want to have more condensed low-income housing by transit. They don't want the current SB 50 they consider is not going far enough. That was the LA City Council. And finally, when they were talking about the new hotel, new restaurants, or new whatever, I saw the Glendora Market is going through final plan checks or whatever. I don't know exactly what the terminology, they might have that wrong. They're having it's been delayed for a while because they're putting in 11 kitchens simultaneously. So I guess that's a piece of work. Currently they're getting close, and they figure it'd be about 3 or 4 months after they're done before they'll open it up. That's about it. And thank you very much, Mayor, for the little additional.
Thank you.
And good luck, Blaine.
Anyone else like to address the City Council? Okay, I don't see anyone coming forward, so we will move on then to the City Manager.
Yeah, I have an announcement and then a request. The Mayor's Call-In Show will be this Thursday, April 25th at 7 p.m., Channel 3. We encourage you to call with your questions. Looking forward to that. I want to report also, though, that the Mayor's Call-In Show has a nationwide attendance and participation. There are 2 really cute little girls that live in Jacksonville, Florida, that went to their dad and said, "Dad, how do people get on TV?" So their dad thought, well, let's see. So he said, now Grandpa's been on TV before, and so he goes on the internet and finds an old episode of Ask the Mayor and shows it to 2 5-year-old twins, and they loved it for about 5 minutes. So I was impressed that it lasted for 5 minutes, and so I just want you to know, Kurt, that it's a nationwide audience that reaches all the way to Florida.
Coast to coast.
So if I could have a moment at the end, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Certainly may. We'll get to there. City Attorney.
Nothing tonight, Mayor, other than to congratulate Mr. Michaelis on his last City Council meeting and on his retirement.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have appointments to the Equestrian Commission, and Mayor Pro Tem Ryan will make the report and the recommendation and the motion.
Well, I seem to be absent the names, but I know who they were. Do we have the names? The long story short, in terms of the interviews were actually pretty interesting. There were a total of 3 people that put in to express interest in the Equestrian Commission. And it ended up being a little bit of a harder selection process, I think, than probably expected. We're actually fortunate enough, and the mayor and I are making the recommendation for Miss Renee Craven, who has a horse. She boards up in Sycamore Canyon. And then Rosalba Santana. And interestingly enough, she will be the first homeowner, to my knowledge, on the commission that is a residential boarder. She has horses on her property. So it's very exciting. The other candidate, I think we're going to see if he may be a better fit in another commission. But needless to say, thank you, everybody that came out. And with that, that's the recommendation.
Second.
Thank you.
We have a motion and second to approve the recommendation of the interview committee. Any further comments? Anybody opposed? Hearing none, that carries by unanimous vote. Next item is if any members of the City Council have attended meetings at the expense of the city since the last report, that needs to be reported.
I have, Mayor.
Okay.
Yes, I attended a one-day conference in the City of Industry put on by the COG, and the subject matters discussed were stormwater, homelessness, development of workforce for Metro, and electric vehicles. And just one of the most interesting things they talked about the homelessness is that it really won't be solved until these people are not given temporary housing, but permanent housing and also employment. And one of the big problems is there is a minority, a small minority of people that you'll never be able to keep in one place and who are able to work. So you're always going to have a certain percentage of people that are always going to be needing help. But permanent housing is the most important thing. That's it.
Thank you. Next, we'll get to individual members' comments and updates. And Ryan, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm reviewing Emmett's notes because he always says I take all of his talking points, so I have Emmett's notes here. First thing is Easter had passed recently, and I wanted to commend staff and all the volunteers and businesses that came out for Easter, both at Via Verde as well as here in Civic Center Park. It was pretty awesome seeing everybody out there. The only one criticism I got was that the chocolate was melted by the time the kids had actually gotten the opportunity to pick it up. So I know we talked with staff, and I think we're going to try something a little bit different next year other than chocolate. But that being said, I also want to acknowledge somebody in the community went on to Nextdoor and criticized the city for the Easter event. And when you read the comments, and those of you that are in the downtown area, you can read them yourselves, but the gist of it was that they were not happy with so many adults going to help out the kids to be able to find the Easter eggs. And when you watch this video, because there's a video that was taken and it's been placed on YouTube, and you see this thing go down, I just, that's not the story of the event. And so those that from the community that have gone out there and you see this event, when you have 3-4-year-olds trying to go find eggs and you've got quite a number of them, the parents are very helpful in escorting and guiding these kids. And, you know, I just hate to think somebody thought that event didn't go well, because I think it went very well. The other thing is Earth Day, Arbor Day. That was a great little event this past Wednesday that just passed us. The Boy Scouts planted a tree out in front, and so I'm told in 40 years it will be as big as the other 2 trees that are right next to it. That's typically where the Easter Bunny sets up, so look forward to that. On Saturday, this Saturday at Benelli Park, Crime Survivors, which is a nonprofit that partners with the Sheriff's Department, is actually putting on a 5K at Benelli Park. For anyone that's interested in participating with that, that's really for people who are victims of crime to come out and raise awareness and support for those individuals. Last night, we all attended, or the mayor and Councilman Badar and Mr. Duran attended the supervisors evening, our supervisor Catherine Barger with the district. That was a really good opportunity. I know people ask sometimes, you know, why we go to those things. And truthfully, the supervisor really does believe that working with the local electeds makes the district better and the county's involvement better to be able to support everything we're doing. So I was very thankful for that. I'm going to switch to my notes now. And my notes, my last thing is, you know, you wonder, Blaine's retirement I'm very conflicted about the whole thing. Blaine motivated me to run for council. And it really was because I didn't quite understand what was going on in the city with some things. And so I think since that time, and I don't agree with Mr. Lyons over there with his polarization comments, but I will say that I know during your tenure, at least my tenure with you, there's been a number of issues that were brought before the city, and I always respected your ability to maintain your calm, cool, collected demeanor, your wisdom, your insight, and you know, I would like to apologize publicly for the times that it may have seemed a little bit more contentious than was necessary. And so for that, I'm sorry, and I am sorry you're going, as I feel I just probably in the last year figured out what this really was about and how we're doing it. But I wanted to tell you that, and I look forward, I'll meet with you privately after, before you leave, but I've really appreciated all your time here. You've been the city manager almost as long as I've been alive, as we've said in the city here, and I've been very grateful for everything you've done that I knew about and that I didn't. So thank you, Blaine. Best wishes, and I'm very happy for you.
Emmett?
Yeah, I don't have anything left. Just talk about Easter. The Easter egg hunt in both the Rio Verde area and the downtown area absolutely was a delight to look and watch the kids. But I just want to, I spent more time up at the Villa Verde one because that's the first one we was at. But this year, we had this event is sponsored by the city. It's a city event. But along with Gary Enderly and the businesses up in Villa Verde Park, they joined together along, I believe, some of the heroes. So everybody came together and put together an event that I thought everybody could be very proud of. You didn't hear those problems other than the fact that the chocolate was melting, and so then we got to find something else, some other kind of candy or something, but then to be preventive, make sure somebody doesn't choke or something like. So there's a pretty difficult task, but they had stuffed animals and things that they were giving away up there, and I think working between the city and the business people and the heroes, it was a good partnership, and I want to commend all three sections of the city, the business and the heroes for that. Just take a couple of minutes to talk about Blaine. I was on the planning commission for 13 years prior, and Blaine was here for probably 7 or 8, 9 years. In time I was on the planning commission, I didn't know what his name was. I had no idea who he was or whatever. I probably thought Ken Duran was the city manager because he had been around all the time I had been there. But I really found out who Blaine was the night that I retired from LAPD. Blaine and the entire city council showed up downtown at the Los Angeles Police Academy, and they showed up in rare form. And Blaine took over my retirement, and I had 350 people there, but everybody that you know of or run into talks about how Blaine took over that ability. They showed up with a shopping cart, and they showed up with a whole lot of things, and a vest and all kinds of things, and made me the Walmart greeter, and that's what I was going to do. And I learned to watch how he deals with people. He deals with people, and it's not easy. There's 5 councilmen on this council, and believe it or not, there are really 5 different personalities. And one day he thinks he's got it all made, and then somebody walks into his door. And I find the best time to walk into his door is right before lunch and right at the end of the day, because you keep him afterwards, and he's always so pleasant. You know, you can see he's squirming, he's ready to go, but he's always gives you that amount of time, and I'm going to miss him immensely. Thank you. I've learned, I believe, a lot. I wished I could learn how to speak softly like you do, and like you captivate, and like someone said earlier, the booster dinner, the story that you told that talked about volunteers, it just encapsulates everything that you've done for this city, and thank you very much, and we're going to miss you. And can I go with you to London?
Yes.
Yes, this weekend, which would be April 27th and 28th, we have the Festival of Arts in the City of San Dimas, and this is an art show and sale. It's free to the public. There's student art. There's also many activities for children and also adults to participate in. And it's this Saturday, which is the 27th, and Sunday the 28th. And as I said, it doesn't cost anything. And Blaine, I would like to thank you for your service to the city. San Dimas is a very well-run city, and that starts at the very top. And I think one of the reasons it's well-run is with the way you deal with the personnel and the people that work here. You always show them respect, and you show them that you're concerned about them. And I think when people feel liked and they feel that they are respected and they feel that they're appreciated, they work harder. And I think that's what's happened in the city of San Dimas. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to the way you deal with people, because you always show concern. So I wish you and your family the best. You'll be missed, but I hope you have a happy and long and enjoyable retirement. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Blaine, I'm not going to make you wait very long. I I have said to Blaine and to other people in the community that I think that, and I've been doing this for 39 years now, which seems unreal, but City Council made a lot of good decisions. Made some that, in retrospect, maybe weren't that good, but we never made a better decision during the time I've been here than the decision to hire Blaine. Blaine has been everything that I hoped he would be when we were going through the process and selecting city managers. We had a lot of opportunities. There were a lot of good candidates, but Blaine had a quality that was he was different. There was a quality of character or whatever that came through, and it made me, at least, and I think all of the city council members at the time, realized that it was a chance for us to have somebody really special as the city manager. And I can tell you, I've never changed my mind about that. It has turned out at least as well as I would ever have hoped. Blaine, and I think the point that Dennis makes, we had some problems, a few morale problems when Blaine came here, and just the way he deals with people, it's empathy, it's all of the things that you want to have somebody to treat you the way he does that to everybody that's involved with the city or people who come in to talk to him. He's very open on all of those things, but he has done a phenomenal job. And while you don't want to say, don't retire, and you don't want to say to Ken, you're not ready to take this job, because Ken is ready to take this job and is going to do a great job. But Blaine has been tremendous as our city manager and as a friend to all, and he will be missed. By one thing, he's taller than anybody else. You can see him in a crowd. And I am going to, Ken has indicated that when the employees have their luncheon to wish Blaine bon voyage, he's going to give me a little opportunity to participate in that. And so I have a few comments that I'm reserving for that, Blaine. But so now we don't have a timer. We don't have anything. It's your opportunity, and whatever you want to say it's time.
Thank you. I'm very grateful for the kind words and my relationships with each of you. My daughter Megan is here tonight. Megan, wave. I'm thankful that she could be here tonight. Boy, a long time ago, I was all set to be a high school basketball coach. So I was going through the normal process with all of that, which means that you spend a lot of time in the PE building at the university where you're studying. And so the PE building has 2 floors. The second floor is an observation deck, so you can see into the gymnasium below. So I was, most of the time, a PE major would spend their time in the bottom floor, because why would you go up to the observation deck? But I needed to go up there someday for some reason. So I go up the first flight of steps, and I'm turning to go up to the next flight of steps. And right at the top of the stairs is a poster. And it says, "So you want to be a city manager?" with a question mark. I had no idea. It's the first time I'd heard the term, the phrase, the concept. And then in typical fashion, there was contact information under the question. So for some reason, I wrote down that information. And I just got married, and so my wife and I had said, Blaine, now's the time to get a little more education. It's going to be tougher as time goes on. Now would be a good time. And so that was a couple of days before. Maybe it influenced me to write down that contact information, but I did. So I went and contacted the person that ran the public administration department at BYU, and it seemed to be an attractive thing to me for some reason. And so I entered the program, and it was like a hand in a glove or a pair of comfortable shoes 40 years ago. And that poster, that experience charted my life and gave me the chance to meet you. I've worked for some great cities, 5 of them. Incredible communities and people and experiences. So I would like to thank Mount Pleasant, Utah, a small town that gave me an internship in between the 2 years of the program. My job was to inspect the sewer connection system there. Boy, I hope it still works today. I have no doubt that some of those, eventually that masking tape would wear off on those sewer connections and they wouldn't quite work well. But then my first full-time job was in Claremont, a long time ago. What a great town, great people. Then I went to Salinas in Monterey County. Incredible experience to have the opportunity to be in that valley and all the agriculture and the experience that it was to be there. And then I found myself as city manager of King City, a wonderful place, great people, incredible to be able to help me to learn and grow and give me the contribution of their lives to me. But half of my time, of my working life, has been in this community. I am so thankful for every soul that I have met, for all the elected officials that work so hard for the benefit of a community and for their devotion to good government. So thankful for the community groups and people that volunteer their time and their dedication to bring so much that's a quality of life thing. And San Dimas just does that so incredibly well. All the good people that make a quality of life a meaningful thing for us here. I'm so grateful for the other cities and staff members and those in the federal and state governments that I've met and worked with. Incredible servants, good people. I am thankful for every city employee that I've ever worked with or associated with. They are simply awesome. They make things happen for us as a community. I think we kind of expect things to kind of go that way, but it's good to remember all that they do, all the details that they plan and carry out, because they're true public servants and have a lifetime of service that they've been willing to give in their communities in which they work. Awesome, great people. So I'm thankful for you all, those who are here and not here, because of the influence that you've had for me in my life. I'm thankful to my family for supporting me in all this. So many night and weekends, meetings and so forth that I just had to attend to, and they helped. In fact, Megan, you may remember in King City when we handed out public hearing notices because there was a proposal to remove a speed bump, and there was no other way to get those notices out. So we did it as a family. I'm grateful for the blessing that they've been to me. So, as things move forward, I never want to be very good at saying goodbye, but I want to be really good at saying thank you. Thank you for all that you've done for me. Thankful for the opportunity to associate with you and have the opportunity to participate in this organization, in this community. I'm so grateful to you all. And I'm very thankful that 40 years ago, I walked up the stairs and saw something that allowed me to meet and experience all of our relationships together. I thank you. for all of these things. And that's about all I can do, Chris.
Well, all of you are welcome to join us at 7 o'clock on Thursday evening, and we're going to talk about Blaine's career a little more and talk about some things that so you get a chance to know him even a little better. We're on Channel 3 on the cable, you can get Ask the Mayor program. It streams live from our website, and we're going to talk about some more things. And I could tell you, a lot of times in the last few years, I have had the difficult task of following Blaine when he made a speech or at various functions, and it's getting no easier. So Blaine, thank you very much. I know that everybody who has had any contact with you has come away better for that. But it is now time for us to adjourn to the meeting, the budget study session at 6 p.m. on April 30th, and we will convene in the conference room for that, Ken. Okay. So with that, thank you very much, and thank you for being here. Thank you for your attendance at Blaine's. Blaine gave pretty strict instructions to the city staff that he did not want a lot of fanfare over this, but there might be a little more fanfare at the employee luncheon. So just be ready. So thank you all very much, and we are adjourned.